Hey guys, tonight we are travelling back in time, not just to a place, but into a very specific and rather blurry experience. Imagine your world, once vibrant and sharp, now seen through a perpetually foggy window on a humid day. The edges of everything are softening. Colours are fading into a uniform, creamy haze, and a fine, milky film seems to be slowly descending over your vision, dimming the sun itself. Tonight's journey will take us through one of the most sophisticated surgical procedures of the ancient world. And, frankly, given the lack of general anaesthesia and modern antibiotics, you'll be lucky to get through it with your eyesight intact, let alone your life. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. As always, I'd love to see where in the world you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always a treat to see our little community of history-loving insomniacs spanning the globe. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The world is becoming a memory. You are in Pataliputra, the sprawling, magnificent capital of the Mauryan Empire, a jewel on the banks of the Ganges. The air, thick with the scent of wood smoke, river mud, and 1,000 spices from the market, used to be something you navigated with ease. Now, it's just part of the general haze that clouds your life. At first, you blamed the relentless sun, beating down on the city's dusty avenues. You blamed the smoke from the cooking fires, or perhaps the fine grit that the wind always seemed to carry. But the blurriness didn't wash away with water. It stayed. It grew. Your days have taken on a soft, frustrating rhythm. You are a merchant, a weaver, a scribe, it doesn't matter. Your craft depends on your eyes, and your eyes are failing you. The brilliant crimson of a bolt of silk now looks like faded rose. The once sharp beak of a parrot is a dull smudge of green. Recognizing a friend across the market square is now a game of guessing by their gait, their posture, their general shape, because their face is a pale, featureless oval. Threading a needle, once a simple act of muscle memory, has become an exercise in pure frustration, a battle against a foe you cannot see. The intricate lines of Brahmi script on your palm leaf manuscript now swim together, the wisdom of the ages dissolving into meaningless squiggles. It's a terrifying, isolating decline, like a very slow, very personal Instagram filter being permanently applied to your reality. They call the condition linga nashath, loss of the orb, a poetic term for a profoundly unpoetic experience. To you, it feels like a pearl is forming inside your eye, a beautiful word for something that is stealing the world. Or perhaps it's more like a single stubborn wisp of a cobweb, forever caught in your line of sight, impossible to blink or rub away. Family members try to help. They offer remedies whispered down from their grandmothers. You've tried everything, from special honey drops, mostly just sticky, to rinsing your eyes with clarified butter, which just made you crave flatbread. You've had poultices of various herbs applied, each one promising clarity and delivering only a damp, fragrant disappointment. Nothing works. The milky whiteness behind your pupil continues its slow, relentless creep. But there are whispers. In the quiet moments of the evening, as the world outside fades into an even deeper blur, you hear stories, not of poultices or prayers, but of something else entirely. Whispers of a different path, a bolder solution, born from the sophisticated medical tradition they call Ayurveda, the science of life. They speak of physicians, Vaidyas, who do not just soothe symptoms, but who can actively intervene. Men who can, with a steady hand and a sharp tool, confront the disease within the eye itself. They speak of a legendary physician, a man named Sushruta, who may have lived centuries ago, or perhaps he is a more recent figure. Historians still argue whether this foundational genius walked the earth 800 years before the Common Era, or was a contemporary of physicians in Greece. To you, it doesn't matter when he lived. What matters is the monumental text he left behind, the Sushruta Samhita, a complete guide to the art of healing, which is spoken of in reverent tones. In this text, it is said, is a detailed description of how to cure the milky blindness. Not with herbs, but with a blade. The thought is both terrifying and thrilling. To allow a sharp object near your eye, it goes against every instinct. But what is the alternative? A slow descent into a world of muffled shapes and indistinct shadows. A life lived behind a permanent veil. To be unable to see the face of your child, the colour of the dawn, the path before your own feet. You have heard the stories of others who have gone to these men. Some have returned with stories of failure, of pain, of darkness made permanent, but others have returned with wonder in their voice. They speak of a sudden flash of light, of colours flooding back into the world, of seeing the sky again, truly seeing it for the first time in years. You weigh the fear against the hope, the risk against the reward. You have made your decision. You will seek out a practitioner of this ancient art. You will find someone who follows the teachings of Sushruta, hoping this legendary doctor isn't just the ancient equivalent of a wellness influencer with a catchy name, because a world of shadows is no world at all. You will take the chance. Your quest begins not in a grand hall of medicine, but in the crowded, fragrant alleys of the market. You ask discreetly, starting with the apothecary who grinds herbs with a smooth stone pestle. He knows the remedies of the earth, the soothing balms and digestive aids. When you mention Linga Nasha and the surgical path, his expression tightens. He speaks in low tones, directing you not to a place, but to a person who might know a person. And so it goes. You are passed from one whisper to another, a breadcrumb trail of reputation. The search itself feels like a test of your resolve. You learn that the men who perform this delicate work are not showmen. They do not advertise. Their renown is built on the quiet testimony of those who have seen the world anew through their efforts. With each conversation, the name of Sushruta surfaces again and again like a mantra. He is not spoken of as a mere man, but as the foundational sage, the father of surgery. The stories say he learned his craft at the feet of Divadasa Dhanvantari, the king of Kashi, who was himself an incarnation of the god of medicine. This divine lineage is important. It frames the entire practice not as a crude act of cutting, but as a sacred intervention, a restoration of the divine balance within the body. You are not just putting your faith in a man with a steady hand, but in a tradition that stretches back to the gods themselves. It's a comforting thought, a necessary one, as you contemplate the reality of what you are about to do. You learn more about his great work, the Sushruta Samhita. It is not a single book you can just pick up and read. It is a vast collection of knowledge, painstakingly copied by scribes onto dried palm leaves, bound together and guarded by masters of the art. You picture these bundles of leaves filled with elegant, curved script, detailing not just the surgery you seek, but everything a physician must know. It describes over 300 different surgical procedures, from closing wounds and setting bones to the more complex arts of removing bladder stones and, most famously, reconstructing a nose procedure, now known to the modern world as rhinoplasty. Historians would later marvel at the text's detailed anatomical knowledge and its astoundingly practical approach to surgery, which was far ahead of its time. The Samhita is a complete guide to a physician's life. It dictates not only how to operate, but how to live. It gives advice on diet, on hygiene, on the ethical treatment of patients. It even details the proper way to brush one's teeth, recommending a fresh twig from specific trees, crushed at one end to form soft bristles. It's strangely reassuring to know that the man who pioneered eye surgery was also deeply concerned with your dental health. Sushruta was, in essence, the world's first holistic lifestyle guru, just one who happened to be exceptionally good with a scalpel. You hear that the text even contains a specific oath a student must take, promising to be compassionate, to maintain patient confidentiality, and to dedicate their life to healing. As you follow the trail of whispers, you learn to separate the true practitioners from the charlatans. The real Vaidyas, you are told, embody the principles of the Samhita. They are calm, clean, and deliberate. They live modestly, and their focus is on the patient, not on payment. Scholars continue to debate the exact century of Sushruta's life, placing him anywhere from the time of early Greek city-states to the height of this very Mauryan empire. But for the men who practice his art, the timeline is irrelevant. The knowledge is eternal. Finally, your search bears fruit. You are given a name and a location. A physician who lives in a quiet quarter of the city, known for his specialization in Shalakya Tantrathi branch of Ayurveda that deals with the eyes, ears, nose and throat. His name is Vatsa. He is said to be a master, a man whose hands are guided by the wisdom of Sushruta himself. The final directions lead you down a shaded lane, away from the clamour of the main thoroughfares. The air here is cooler, smelling of damp earth and blooming jasmine. You find the house, simple and well kept. There is no sign, no indication of the life-altering work performed within. There is only a plain wooden door. Standing before it, your heart, which had been buoyed by the grand legacy of Sushruta, now pounds with a more immediate and personal fear. The stories, the history, the divine lineage 8 all evaporates in this one moment. Now it is just you, your failing eyes, and the door. You take a slow, deep breath, tasting the jasmine on the air, and you knock. The sound is soft, yet it feels like the loudest noise you have ever made. The door opens, not to the physician himself, but to a young assistant, a student perhaps. He is calm and composed, his eyes assessing you not with pity, but with a quiet professionalism. He leads you from the bright, hazy sunlight into a cool, dim antechamber. Your eyes struggle to adjust, the shapes of the room slowly emerging from the gloom. The space is simple, clean, and smells faintly of sandalwood and medicinal herbs. It's a far cry from the chaotic, dusty world you just left behind. There are no grand decorations, only a few woven mats on the polished floor and a small alcove with a flickering ghee lamp. The quiet is profound, a stark contrast to the storm of anxiety brewing inside you. After a few moments that stretch into an eternity, the physician Vatsa enters. He is not what you expected. He is neither ancient and frail, nor imposing and stern. He is a man in his middle years, with a serene face and hands that look both strong and gentle. His movements are unhurried, his white robes immaculate. He doesn't greet you with a barrage of questions. He simply sits on a mat opposite you and waits, allowing the silence to settle. He is observing you, but his gaze is not invasive. It's patient, thoughtful. He is reading your posture, the tension in your shoulders, the slight tremor in your hands. This is the beginning of his diagnosis. Finally, he speaks. His voice is low and steady, a calming balm in the quiet room. He asks you to describe your affliction, not just the physical symptoms, but how it has changed your life. You find yourself explaining it, all the struggle with your craft, the faces you can no longer see, the fear of the encroaching darkness. He listens without interruption, his head tilted slightly, his entire focus on you. There is no sense of rush. This is not a 10-minute appointment squeezed between others. This is a consultation, in the truest sense of the word. You feel, for the first time in a long while, that your condition is being taken seriously. When you have finished, he begins his examination. He asks you to sit facing the ghee lamp. He then moves closer, his proximity unnerving yet necessary. You can smell the faint, clean scent of his robes. He gently takes your chin in his hand, his touch firm but reassuring. "Do not be afraid," he says softly. "Remain still. He then proceeds to examine your eyes, not with any instrument, but with his own. He peers intently into each eye, observing the pupil, the colour of the iris, and the telltale milky whiteness behind it. He is looking for the ripeness of the cataract, a concept central to the Sushruta Samhita. An unripe or overripe cataract, the text warns, should not be operated upon. It's a strange agricultural metaphor for medical conditioners if the disease must reach its perfect moment of harvest. He then does something surprising. He begins to gently palpate the area around your eye, his fingertips pressing softly on your eyelid and the bones of your socket. Historians still argue whether this was a form of diagnostic pressure testing to gauge the density of the lens, or if it was simply a way to calm the patient and feel for any obvious inflammation. To you, it just feels strange. His touch is methodical, mapping the landscape of your face as if it holds clues to the illness within. He also asks you a series of questions that seem at first unrelated to your eyes. He asks about your digestion, your sleep, your general mood. He wants to know if you have a persistent cough or if you feel a recurring coldness in your limbs. This is the holistic approach of Ayurveda in action. Sushruta taught that the body is a system of interconnected humours, or doshas vata, wind, pitta, fire, and kapha, water, earth. Your eye disease is not just an isolated problem. It is a symptom of a deeper imbalance. A persistent cough or sneezing, fit at the wrong moment, could ruin the delicate recovery process, so he must assess the health of your entire body. It's a level of thoroughness that is both impressive and a little intimidating. It's like going to see an eye doctor and getting a full physical and a therapy session all at once. After his long and careful examination, he sits back. The silence returns as he considers his findings. Finally, he gives you his diagnosis. Your linganasha, he confirms, is of the kapha type stable, milky whiteness, perfectly ripe for removal. He explains that the procedure is possible, that he believes it can be successful. He does not make grand promises. He speaks of probabilities and risks, of the part you must play in your own healing. He outlines the pre-operative regimen you must follow, the diet, the cleansing, the mental preparation. He makes it clear that the surgery is not a simple transaction, but a partnership. His skill with the instrument is only half the battle. Your discipline and patience will be the other. You leave his quiet home, not with a sense of triumphant hope, but with a feeling of sober resolve. The path is real, but it is narrow and demanding. Your journey into the heart of ancient medicine has truly begun. The days following your consultation are marked by a new, focused discipline. Your life, which had been dissolving into a blurry chaos, now has a clear, prescribed structure. Physician Vatsa has given you a regimen to follow, a series of steps designed to purify your body and calm your mind, preparing the vessel for his delicate work. This isn't a mere suggestion to get some rest before the big day. This is a meticulous, multi-day preparation, grounded in centuries of Ayurvedic wisdom. It is your part of the bargain, your contribution to the potential miracle of restored sight. The first and most immediate change is your diet. You are given a list of foods to eat, and, more importantly, a much longer list of foods to avoid. Gone are the heavy, spicy, and oily dishes you might normally enjoy. Your meals become a model of simplicity and purity. The core of your diet is now light, easily digestible rice, cooked until soft. With it, you are allowed certain vegetables and thin lentil soups, seasoned not with fiery chili or pungent garlic, but with gentle, cooling spices like coriander and fennel. You're instructed to avoid all meat, all fried foods, all fermented products like yogurt and anything sour. The idea, as it was explained to you, is to reduce the heat and heaviness in your body, to pacify the doshas and create an internal environment that is calm and receptive to healing. It feels less like a diet and more like a gentle internal cleansing. You find yourself feeling lighter, clearer, even if your vision remains the same. Along with the dietary restrictions comes a practice known as snihana, or oleation therapy. Every day, you are to consume a specific amount of medicated ghee-clarified butter infused with beneficial herbs. It sounds unpleasant, and at first, it is. The rich, oily texture is a shock to the system, but you are assured it is essential. This internal lubrication is believed to travel through the channels of the body, loosening and drawing out impurities. It's a very physical, very tangible way of preparing. It also makes you feel incredibly sluggish, which, as you'll soon learn, is part of the point. A sluggish patient is a calm patient. It's hard to be anxious and jittery when you feel like you've just eaten a stick of butter for breakfast. The next step in the detoxification process is swadhana, or induced sweating. After a few days of the ghee regimen, you are taken to a special chamber where you are gently warmed, either through steam or heated cloths. The goal is to open up the channels of your body, so the impurities, loosened by the ghee, can be expelled through your skin. It's a surprisingly pleasant experience. You sit in the warm, fragrant steam, feeling the tension seep out of your muscles. The world outside, with its harsh sun and dusty streets, feels a million miles away. This isn't a violent sauna, it's a gentle, nurturing warmth. But the preparation is not just physical. Vatsa insists on mental and spiritual readiness. You are instructed to avoid all forms of conflict and agitation. No arguments with your spouse, no haggling in the market, no getting worked up about the neighbour's noisy chickens. You are encouraged to spend your time in quiet contemplation, listening to calming music, or simply sitting in nature, what you can perceive of it. You are also guided through simple breathing exercises, meant to slow your heart rate and quiet your racing thoughts. Historians often note that this psychological preparation was a key, and often overlooked, component of the surgery's success. A calm mind leads to a still body, and stillness is the most critical requirement for the procedure. A quirky fringe tidbit of this preparation involves specific rituals. You are told to offer prayers to Dhanvantari, the divine physician. You might be given a simple mantra to repeat, a series of sacred sounds meant to create a protective vibration around you. You are also advised to face a specific direction when you sleep, and to wear clothes of a certain colour, usually white, to signify purity. To a modern mind, it might seem like superstition, but in your world, there is no hard line between the physical and the spiritual. Healing the body is inseparable from calming the soul. These rituals provide a powerful psychological anchor, a sense of control and participation in a process that is otherwise terrifyingly out of your hands. As the designated day approaches, you feel a profound shift within yourself. The initial terror has been replaced by a quiet sense of readiness. Your body feels clean and light. Your mind, though still harbouring a kernel of fear, is more peaceful than it has been in years. The regimen has worked. It has transformed you from a frantic, desperate patient into a prepared participant. You have followed the ancient path laid out by Sushruta, and you are ready. You have eaten the right foods, anointed your body with oil, purified yourself with steam, and calmed your spirit with prayer. There is nothing left to do but place your trust in Vatsa, his steady hands, and the wisdom of the ages. The morning of the procedure arrives, not with a sense of dread, but with a quiet, almost surreal calm, thanks to the meticulous regimen you have followed. You are led back to Vatsa's home, but this time you are not taken to the antechamber. Instead, you are guided through a different door into a dedicated space, the surgical room, and it immediately shatters any preconceived notions you might have had about ancient surgery taking place in a dusty, chaotic tent. The room is a testament to the principles laid out in the Sushruta Samhita space, designed for cleanliness, focus, and good fortune. The first thing you notice is the light. The room has been prepared during what the Samhita calls the Shastra Karma season, a temperate time of year, neither too hot nor too cold, to aid in healing. The procedure is timed to take place in the morning, when the light is bright and clear, but the sun is not yet high enough to cause a blinding glare. A single, strategically placed window allows a steady, indirect stream of natural light to illuminate the specific area where you will sit. There are no flickering torches or smoky lamps that could cast deceiving shadows. The quality of light is paramount. The room itself is scrupulously clean. The floor is made of polished earth, packed hard and smoothed, then lightly treated with a plaster of cow dung. While that sounds startlingly unhygienic to modern ears, dried cow dung was known to have antiseptic properties and was a common material for creating clean, non-porous surfaces in ancient India. It kept the dust down and could be easily wiped clean. There is no clutter, no unnecessary furniture, only the essential items for the procedure laid out with intention. You notice the scent in the air. Before you entered, the room was fumigated. The Samhita lists specific woods and resins like gugulu, a fragrant gum resin, and white mustard to be burned. This wasn't just for a pleasant smell. It was a form of ancient fumigation, believed to purify the air and ward off unseen influences that could cause infection. Historians see this as an early, intuitive form of creating an aseptic environment, a foundational concept of modern surgery. The air feels clean, pure, and carries a faint, reassuring aroma of sacred incense. You are instructed to sit on a low, comfortable stool, its height carefully chosen. Vatsa will not be bending over you awkwardly. The Samhita is very specific. The surgeon should be seated comfortably on a stool of his own, at a slightly higher level than the patient. This ergonomic consideration ensures his stability and comfort, allowing for a steadier hand during the most critical moments. There is a quiet logic to every detail. Nothing is left to chance. Looking around, you see other preparations. There are bowls of clean water, sourced from a pure well. There are soft, clean cloths, likely cotton or linen, bleached by the sun. There is a basin to catch any fluids. It's a very organised, very deliberate setup. It is the absolute opposite of the bloody, chaotic image one might associate with pre-modern surgery. This is not a battlefield amputation. It is a controlled, almost sacred act of healing. A fascinating and perhaps slightly unnerving detail is the presence of Vatsa's assistants. The Sushruta Samhita emphasizes that the surgeon does not work alone. He is supported by a team. One assistant stands ready with the instruments. Another is tasked with a singular, crucial job, holding you still. This is not a casual, hold his shoulders instruction. They are trained to gently but immovably cradle your head, ensuring there is absolutely no sudden movement, no flinch, no turn of the head at the critical moment. Your stillness is an active component of the surgery, and this assistant is its guardian. Scholars still debate the full extent of the hygienic practices. While the text emphasizes fumigation and cleanliness, the concept of microscopic germs was, of course, entirely unknown. The cleansing was aimed at visible dirt and invisible spiritual impurities, and yet, by insisting on washed hands, clean cloths, and a purified room, the practitioners of Sushruta's art were inadvertently creating a barrier against infection that was remarkably effective for its time. They may not have known about bacteria, but they knew that cleanliness led to better outcomes. You sit on the stool, feeling the smooth wood beneath you. You look at the clean floor, the bowl of water shimmering in the morning light, the calm faces of the assistants. This room is a sanctuary, a bubble of order and intention carved out of the messy world. The careful preparation of the space is deeply reassuring. It tells you that Vatsa is not just a man with a sharp tool, he is a master of his craft, a follower of a meticulous tradition. He respects the procedure, he respects you, and he respects the space in which this transformation will occur. The world outside has been banished. All that exists is this room, this moment, and the quiet promise of light. Now, seated and still, your attention inevitably turns to the instruments. They are not hidden away until the last second. They are laid out in plain view on a clean cloth, arranged with the precision of a priest preparing a ritual. Seeing them is a moment of stark reality. The abstract concept of surgery solidifies into these gleaming, formidable objects. This is not the crude, heavy-handed toolkit of a blacksmith. Each instrument is a product of sophisticated design, specialized for its unique purpose, just as described in the Sushruta Samhita. The text itself is a veritable encyclopedia of surgical tools, describing 101 different types of blunt instruments and 20 sharp instruments, or shastras. Sushruta apparently believed in having the right tool for every conceivable job. He categorized them based on their function, and even gave them names inspired by the mouths and beaks of animals and birds. The heron forceps, the lion's jaw forcepsa, testament to a keen observation of the natural world. The metals used are of the highest quality, likely a form of steel or high-carbon iron, forged by expert smiths to be strong and, most importantly, to hold a razor-sharp edge. The Samhita specifies that a good blade should be able to split a human hair. For your procedure, only a few of these are needed, but each is vital. The first instruments you see are the blunt ones, the yantras. These are the tools for holding, manipulating, and stabilizing. You see a pair of small, delicate forceps. These are not for gripping tissue, but for gently holding the eyelids open. There might be a shalaka, a simple, smooth, rod-like probe, used for gentle manipulation of the tissues around the eye without cutting. These are the supporting cast, the tools that ensure the stage is perfectly set for the star performer. And then you see it, the main instrument, the one that will enter your eye. It is called the Mukha Suchi, or sometimes referred to by a more descriptive name, the Vrihi Mukha, meaning rice grain faced. It is a specialized probe or needle, and it is the key to the entire procedure. It's a slender shaft of metal, perhaps the length of your middle finger. One end is designed to be held securely, while the other, the business end, is a masterpiece of ancient craftsmanship. It terminates in a very specific shape, a sharp point, but one that is flanked by two tiny blade-like edges. It is designed not just to pierce, but to delicately incise the sclerothy white of the eye with minimal trauma. It must be sharp enough to enter cleanly, but not so large as to create a gaping wound. A quirky and frankly terrifying tidbit from the Samhita is the instruction on how to sterilize these sharp tools. The text recommends a process of heating the blade in a flame until it glows, then quenching it in a special alkaline solution, or keshara, made from the ashes of certain plants. This is a remarkably effective, if rudimentary, form of heat sterilization. Vatsa would have performed this ritual before you even entered the room, ensuring the instrument that touches you is as pure as his knowledge can make it. It's an ancient precursor to the modern autoclave, a flash of empirical genius in a pre-microbial world. You also see a small spoon-like instrument. This is not for your eye, but for handling the medicated ghee that will be used as a lubricant and balm. Every detail is considered. There are no fingers dipped into pots. There are clean instruments for every action. The entire setup communicates a sense of control and expertise. Historians still argue about the exact materials and manufacturing processes of these instruments. Did surgeons have their own personal forges? Or did they rely on a specialized caste of medical blacksmiths? How consistent was the quality of the metal? The Samhita provides the ideal, but the reality on the ground would have varied. A master like Vatsa, however, would have sourced the very best. His reputation, and your eyesight, depended on the quality of his steel. He would have inspected each tool personally, checking its balance in his hand, testing its sharpness, ensuring it was free of any nicks or imperfections. These were not disposable tools, they were extensions of his own hands, his trusted partners in the art of healing. As Vatsa sits down opposite you, he doesn't immediately pick up the sharp probe. He first picks up one of the blunt forceps, holding it with a practiced ease. He might even let you feel the smooth, cool metal against the back of your hand, a small gesture to demystify the object, to reduce your fear. He is a master of psychology as much as surgery. He knows that your fear is his enemy. His calm demeanour, his deliberate movements, the organised purity of the room, and the evident quality of his tools all work in concert to build a fragile wall of trust against the tide of your instinct, which is screaming at you to run. You fix your gaze on a point on the wall, you take a slow breath as instructed, and you prepare for the moment when these beautiful, terrifying instruments are put to use. The moment has arrived. The room, already quiet, seems to fall into an even deeper silence. The distant sounds of the city a rolling cart, a vendor's call fade into nothingness. All that exists is the focused bubble of the surgical space. The morning light streams through the window, illuminating a small patch of the floor and catching the polished surfaces of the instruments. The air is still and fragrant with the lingering scent of fumigating resins. You are seated on the low stool, your back straight, your hands resting on your knees as instructed. You try to focus on your breathing, the slow, rhythmic pattern Vatsa taught you. Inhale calm, exhale fear. It's a nice idea in theory, but your heart is a frantic bird trapped in the cage of your ribs. The assistant responsible for keeping you still moves into position behind you. His hands come up to cradle your head. His touch is not a rough clamp, but a firm, secure hold. It's surprisingly grounding. The gentle, unyielding pressure on either side of your head serves as a physical reminder of your role in this process. Absolute, unwavering stillness. Any sudden jerk, any flinch could be disastrous. His presence is a silent contract. He will hold you, you will not move. Vatsa, seated opposite you, performs his final preparations. He washes his hands one last time in a bowl of clean water and dries them on a fresh cloth. He murmurs a short prayer, or mantra, a final appeal to Dhanvantari for a steady hand and a successful outcome. This is a common practice described in the Sushruta Samhita moment to centre the surgeon's mind and acknowledge the gravity of the act. It's for his benefit as much as yours, a ritual to focus his intention and banish any distraction. You watch his lips move, but the words are just a soft hum. He then leans forward, his face now close to yours. He speaks to you in that same low, steady voice. He tells you which eye he will operate on first, the worse of the two. He reminds you to keep your other eye open and fixed on a specific point, perhaps his nose or a mark on the opposite wall. This is a clever psychological trick. By giving your mind a simple, concrete task stare at that spot, it helps to distract from the terrifying sensations that are about to occur in the other eye. It's like telling a child to look at a toy while they get shot. He then performs a final, crucial check. He asks you to look in various directions, up, down, left, right. He is observing the movement of your eyeball, confirming its stability and ensuring there are no last-minute signs of inflammation or other contraindications. He is also gauging your level of cooperation and calm. Can you follow these simple instructions without panicking? Your ability to remain composed now is the final green light he needs. He gives a small, almost imperceptible nod. It is time. An interesting tidbit of medical history is that for centuries, surgeons in different parts of the world grappled with the problem of patient movement. While ancient India relied on this highly disciplined, psychologically managed stillness, other cultures developed more forceful methods, like strapping patients down. Sushruta's method, by contrast, was built on a foundation of trust and mental preparation, treating the patient as an active participant rather than a passive object. It was a partnership, albeit a terrifying one. Vatsa picks up the small, blunt forceps. He leans in, and you feel the cool, smooth metal gently touch your eyelids. He expertly uses the tool to hold your eyelids open, wider than you could comfortably manage on your own. The eye is now completely exposed, vulnerable. The natural instinct to blink is overwhelming, a desperate, primal urge, but you fight it. You focus on that spot on the wall, you focus on your breathing, you trust the firm hands holding your head. The surgeon then takes a small piece of clean, damp cloth. He gently irrigates the surface of your eye with lukewarm water, washing away any last specks of dust. The sensation is strange, but not painful. It's the final cleansing of the surgical field. Now, your eye is ready. Vatsa puts down the cloth and picks up the sharp, needle-like probe, the vrihi mukha. The light catches its polished steel surface. It gleams. This is the culmination of your journey, the hope, the fear, the consultations, the diet, the rituals. It all comes down to the point of this needle. The air in your lungs feels thick. The bird in your chest beats its wings in a frenzy. The world narrows to a single point of terrifying clarity. The moment of stillness is absolute. Vatsa's left hand comes up to gently stabilize your eyeball, his thumb and forefinger resting on the periphery of the socket. His touch is confident, preventing any minute, involuntary tremors. In his right hand, he holds the vrihi mukha probe, gripping it firmly between his thumb, index, and middle fingers. The Sushruta Samhita is incredibly specific about this grip, ensuring maximum control. He does not hesitate. To hesitate would be to invite fear, both in you and in himself. His movements are deliberate, honed by years of practice, perhaps on gourds or animal eyes, as the text recommends for trainees. He positions the tip of the needle. The Samhita dictates the precise point of entry. On the sclera, the white of the eye, at a specific location. It should be half a finger's breadth from the black part of the eye, and a quarter of a finger's breadth from the outer corner. This spot, known to modern ophthalmologists as the pars plana, is a safe zone, relatively free of blood vessels. To have identified this specific anatomical location without modern imaging is a staggering achievement, a testament to countless dissections and careful observation. He gives you one last quiet instruction. Breathe out. As you exhale, he pushes the probe forward. There is a small, sharp pinch. It's a shocking sensation, but perhaps less painful than you imagined. It's more of a deep, strange pressure. You fight every instinct to pull away, to scream, to move. The hands holding your head are an unyielding cradle. Your own discipline, cultivated over the past weeks, is your anchor. You stare at that spot on the wall, your vision in that eye blurring with tears. You are a statue carved from pure terror and resolve. The probe is now inside your eye. Vatsa's focus is absolute. He carefully advances the tip of the needle towards the lens, the source of your milky blindness, which sits behind the iris and pupil. He is now working entirely by feel and by the subtle visual cues he can see through your pupil. He must not touch the iris, which would cause pain and bleeding, nor the back of the eye, the delicate retina, which would cause permanent blindness. It is like trying to thread a needle in a tiny, dark living room that you are not allowed to bump into. Now comes the crucial maneuver. This ancient procedure is known as couching. The goal is not to remove the cataractus lens from the eye. That would be far too traumatic and impossible to heal from. The goal is simply to dislodge it, to push it out of the line of sight. Using the tip of the vrihi mukha probe, Vatsa carefully presses against the top edge of your cloudy lens. He applies a steady, gentle pressure, nudging it downwards and backwards. You feel a bizarre, internal shifting. There is no sharp pain, just a deep, visceral sense of displacement within your own body. You might see a strange swirl of colours and light the phosphenes created by the pressure on your ocular nerves, and then it happens. The lens, detached from the fine ligaments that hold it in place, gives way. It breaks free. With a final, deft movement, Vatsa pushes the cloudy lens down into the vitreous humour, the jelly-like substance that fills the eyeball. He coaxes it to settle in the bottom of the eye, out of the way, where it will hopefully remain for the rest of your life. A quirky, if slightly horrifying, fact is that you will now carry this piece of yourself, this hardened, cloudy lens, around inside your eye forever, like a pebble dropped into a pond. The moment the lens is dislodged, a change occurs. It is not a sudden, cinematic restoration of perfect vision, but through the tears and the blur, a new quality of light enters your eye. The dense, milky fog that has dominated your world for years is gone. In its place is a hazy, watery brightness. You might be able to make out a shape, a colour, a movement. It's like a dirty window being suddenly, miraculously wiped clean. Vatsa, observing this change through your pupil, knows the critical part of his work is done. He holds the probe steady for a moment longer, ensuring the lens has settled. Historians still debate the efficacy and long-term success rates of couching. While it could dramatically restore vision, the dislodged lens could later float back into place or cause inflammation and glaucoma. But for now, in this moment, it is a triumph. With the same deliberate care, he slowly withdraws the probe. The tiny incision in the white of your eye begins to close on its own. The pressure inside your eye is a strange, throbbing ache. Your vision is a swimming, blurry mess, but it is a bright mess. For the first time in years, light, true light, is reaching the back of your eye. The world has been cracked open. The moment the Vriamukha probe is withdrawn, a profound sense of relief washes over you, so immense it's almost dizzying. The intense, focused terror of the last few minutes gives way to a shaky, throbbing reality. Your eye aches with a deep, resonant pulse. It weeps uncontrollably, not from emotion, but from the physical trauma it has just endured. The assistant's hands gently release your head, and the freedom of movement is startling. You resist the urge to touch your face, to rub the aching eye, as you have been sternly warned against it. Vatsa does not celebrate. His work is not yet finished. He remains seated, his expression one of calm, intense observation. This immediate post-operative period is just as critical for diagnosis as the procedure itself. He watches your eye closely, looking for any immediate signs of trouble, like excessive bleeding from the small incision point. He then does something to test his work. He might briefly wave his hand in front of your operated eye. "Can you perceive the movement?" he asks, his voice still low and steady. Through the watery, blurry chaos of your vision, you can. It's not a clear hand, but a definite shape, a shadow moving through the newfound light. It's the first thing you have truly seen, with that eye, in years. The feeling is indescribable. It's a spark in the darkness, a promise. You might manage a weak nod, unable to speak. Next, he performs what the Sushruta Samhita describes as a crucial test. He will hold up his fingers. "How many do you see?" he might ask. You blink, trying to force the swimming shapes into coherence. You might not be able to make out individual fingers clearly, but you can perceive the general form, the number. To be able to answer 2, 3 is a monumental victory. It confirms that the light is not just getting in, but that it is forming a comprehensible image on your retina. The primary connection between your eye and your brain has been restored. The first glimmer of light is not the crystal clear vision you might have dreamed of. In fact, your sight is now profoundly different. The natural lens of the eye is responsible for focusing light. Without it, you are left with what modern ophthalmology calls aphakia. Your world is now intensely far-sighted and lacks the ability to focus. Shapes are visible, colours are present and, oh, the colours. They seem shockingly vibrant after the years of milky haze, but everything is out of focus, like a poorly taken photograph. This is an unavoidable consequence of the procedure. The concept of corrective lenses, spectacles to fix this farsightedness, wouldn't become common for another 1,000 years or more. So, while your blindness is cured, perfect vision is not the result. The goal was to restore functional sight, to bring you from darkness back into a world of light and shadow, and in that the procedure has been a stunning success. Vatsa, satisfied with these initial tests, now moves to the next phase, dressing the wound. This is not a simple bandage. It's a medicinal application designed to soothe, protect, and promote healing. He takes a small amount of fresh, cool ghee on a clean instrument. Ghee, you remember from your pre-op regimen, is a carrier of medicinal properties. This ghee might be infused with soothing herbs like licorice root or sandalwood, known for their anti-inflammatory properties. He gently applies the cool, medicated ghee over your closed eyelid. The sensation is incredibly soothing, a balm against the throbbing ache. It feels like a cool drink of water for your wounded eye. A quirky historical tidbit is that ghee was a cornerstone of Ayurvedic medicine for almost everything. It was used internally and externally, for soothing burns, aiding digestion, and, in this case, protecting a surgical wound. It formed a clean, pliable and water-repellent barrier that was far more sophisticated than simply slapping a dry leaf over the eye. Over the ghee, Vatsa places a soft pad of cotton or linen cloth. Then, he begins to bandage your head. The bandage is wrapped carefully, not too tightly, but firmly enough to hold the pad in place and to discourage you from accidentally touching or rubbing the area. The pressure is gentle and comforting. He then repeats the entire process on your other eye. The Samhita recommends operating on only one eye at a time, but in some cases, if the patient was strong and the first procedure went well, the second might follow immediately. Let's assume, for the sake of this journey, that your fortitude impressed him. After the second, swifter procedure, your other eye is also bandaged. The glimmer of light is gone. You are now plunged back into a total, deliberate darkness. The world, which had just cracked open with a sliver of blurry light, is now gone again. You are encased in a soft, absolute darkness. But this is a different kind of darkness. It is not the creeping, milky gloom of your disease. This is a deliberate, therapeutic blackness, a quiet womb for your eyes to begin their healing. The gentle pressure of the bandages is a constant, reassuring presence. The cool, medicated ghee beneath them soothes the deep, pulsing ache. The immediate terror of the surgery is over, and now, a new phase of your journey begins, the slow, disciplined process of recovery. You are not sent home to fend for yourself. That would be unthinkable. The Sushruta Samhita is as detailed about post-operative care as it is about the surgery itself. The success of the procedure hangs in the balance during these next crucial days. Vatsa and his assistant gently help you to your feet. You are unsteady, your equilibrium thrown off by the lack of sight. They guide you from the surgical room into another specially prepared space, the recovery room. This room is the epitome of tranquility. It is dark, with any windows heavily covered to block out all light. Light at this stage is not a friend. It is a harsh irritant that could strain your wounded eyes. The room is also utterly quiet. You are to be shielded from any loud or sudden noises. The air is still, free from drafts or breezes. The Samhita is very clear. The patient must lie flat on their back on a comfortable bed, with their head properly supported, and they are not to move at all. You are settled onto the bed, the mattress soft but firm. The assistant makes sure you are positioned perfectly straight, like a fallen statue. And here, in this quiet, dark room, you will remain for the next several days. Your only job is to be still, to be quiet, and to allow your body to do its slow, miraculous work of mending. It sounds simple, but it is an exercise in profound patience and self-control. The rules of your seclusion are strict and numerous. You are forbidden from talking. Speech involves facial movements that could translate into minute pressures on the eye. If you must communicate, it should be in the quietest of whispers. You are under no circumstances to cough, sneeze, spit, or burp. This is the reason Vatsa was so interested in your general health during the consultation. A sudden, violent sneeze could be catastrophic, potentially causing the freshly dislodged lens to shift back into your line of sight, or causing a hemorrhage inside the eye. Before the surgery, you might have been given herbal preparations to suppress any coughs, a form of ancient cough medicine. If you feel the tickle of a sneeze or the rumble of a burp, you are instructed to suppress it with all your might. It's an almost comical level of bodily control, trying to micromanage your own autonomic responses. Your diet continues to be one of bland simplicity. You are fed lukewarm, soupy rice and thin broth foods that require minimal chewing. Vigorous chewing could, again, move the facial muscles too much. The food is brought to you and fed to you gently by an assistant, as you cannot see or sit up. It is a state of complete dependency, a return to infancy. Even your thoughts are meant to be controlled. You are advised to avoid any form of mental agitation. No worrying about your business. No dwelling on family arguments. No feeling of anger, grief, or even excessive joy. You are to cultivate a state of placid emptiness, a mental stillness to match your physical stillness. The connection between mind and body is absolute. An agitated mind, it is believed, heats the body and hinders healing. A quirky fringe practice that historians have noted is the use of storytelling. While you are forbidden to speak, a companion or assistant might sit in the dark room with you and softly, monotonously recite calming stories or religious texts. The drone of the gentle voice is meant to occupy the mind just enough to keep it from straying into anxious thoughts, acting as a form of ancient ambient sound to help you relax and drift off. You lie there in the darkness, hour after hour, day after day. Time loses its meaning. There is no dawn, no dusk. There is only the rhythm of your own slow breathing, the muffled sounds of the household outside your quiet sanctuary, and the periodic gentle presence of the assistant who brings you food and water. You become exquisitely aware of the sensations in your eyes. You can feel the throbbing slowly subside, replaced by a dull ache, and then, eventually, just a feeling of fullness. You are in a state of sensory deprivation, and your entire consciousness seems to be focused on that tiny, healing point of incision. You trust the process. You trust Vatsa. You lie still in the dark, waiting for the light. Days pass in the silent, fragrant darkness of your recovery room. Time is measured only by the arrival of your soupy rice and the quiet changing of the guard as one assistant takes over from another. Your world is a cocoon of stillness. Lying flat on your back, you've become an expert in the geography of the ceiling you cannot see, in the subtle shifts of air temperature, in the symphony of your own internal bodily sounds. You have followed the rules with the devotion of a monk. You have suppressed every cough, stifled every sneeze, and resisted the overwhelming urge to just sit up. The Sushruta Samhita lays out a clear timeline for this recovery. You are to remain in this state of absolute rest for at least 3 to 4 days. After that, the rules begin to relax, but only slightly. On the 4th day, Vatsa returns. You hear his soft footsteps, the rustle of his robes. He speaks to you in a low voice, asking how you feel, checking for any signs of pain or fever. Then, with great care, he will unwrap the bandages for the first time. The process is slow and deliberate. As the final layer of cloth is lifted, your eyelids remain closed, stuck together with the dried ghee and the residue of healing. He does not force them open. Instead, He gently bathes your eyes with a lukewarm herbal decoction, perhaps made with triphala, a famous Ayurvedic combination of 3 fruits known for its cleansing properties. The warm liquid is incredibly soothing, softening the crusts and washing away the old ghee. Slowly, tentatively, you are able to part your eyelids. You are still in the darkened room, so there is no rush of bright light. But even in the deep gloom, you can sense a change. He might hold up a hand, a dim shape in the shadows, and you can see it. The ache has subsided, and the initial test is a success. Satisfied, Vatsa applies fresh, medicated ghee and a new, clean bandage. He then gives you new instructions. You may now, carefully, turn onto your side. It feels like a monumental freedom. He might allow you to speak in a low voice, but the other prohibitions remain. No laughing, no vigorous movement, no anger. The slightest misstep could still undo all his careful work. The Samhita outlines a gradual reintroduction to the world. Over the next week, the bandages will be changed regularly. You'll be allowed to sit up in bed, then to stand, and finally to take a few tentative steps within the confines of your dark room. Each stage is contingent on the last. Any sign of pain, inflammation, or what the text calls redness, lacrimation, or intolerance to roughness would mean an immediate return to lying flat on your back. A significant mainstream historical fact is the incredible emphasis on hygiene during this period. The cloths used for bandages were to be clean, the herbal washes freshly prepared, the physician's hands washed. While the underlying theory involved balancing humours, the practical result was a reduction in post-operative infections, the bane of surgery in other parts of the world for the next 2 millennia. It was this meticulous aftercare that set the Ayurvedic surgical tradition apart. You also learn about the things you must avoid for a long time to come. For at least a month, and ideally longer, you are forbidden from looking at anything excessively bright or small. No staring at the sun, no looking into a fire, and absolutely no reading or fine craftwork. The eyes need to rest, to fully accommodate to their new, lensless state without strain. You are also warned against other physical stresses. No strenuous exercise, no excessive heat from saunas or steam baths, no swimming, and no riding on horses or elephants, where the jolting could shake things loose. Basically, your life must become one of profound gentleness. A slightly quirky rule you are given is about bathing. You can wash your body, but you are not to wash your head or allow any water near your eyes for at least 10 days. Keeping the surgical site dry was an intuitive but critical rule for preventing infection. When you are finally allowed to wash your hair, it must be done with specific herbal waters. You follow these rules religiously. Your life is a slow, careful dance of cautious movement. You graduate from your bed to a chair, still within the dark room. You practice walking from one wall to the other. You eat soft, bland foods. You speak in quiet tones. You are a model patient because your future depends on it. The desire to see again, to tear off the bandages and rush out into the sun is immense. But you temper it with the wisdom Vatsa has imparted. Patience is not just a virtue, it is a medical necessity. The slow rules of recovery are your new scripture, and you abide by them, waiting for the day of the great unveiling. For 10 days, you have lived in a world of darkness and discipline. You have followed the slow rules of recovery with unwavering commitment. But not every story of healing follows a perfect, straight line. The human body is a complex and unpredictable vessel, and even with the most skilled surgeon and the most diligent patient, things can sometimes go awry. The Sushruta Samhita itself acknowledges these risks, detailing the potential complications that can arise after a couching procedure. This is not a story of failure, but a gentle exploration of the anxieties that flutter in the dark. Lying in your quiet room, your mind has plenty of time to wander. Every small sensation becomes magnified. Is that gentle throbbing a normal part of healing? Or is it the first sign of what the text calls abyssiander or inflammation? You feel a slight warmth around your bandaged eye. Is it your imagination? Or is a dangerous heat building up, a sign that your pitta dosha is becoming aggravated? These are the fears that haunt the quiet hours. One of the most common and feared complications was infection. Despite the fumigation, the clean cloths, and the washed hands, the risk was always present. An infection would manifest as increasing pain, swelling, redness, and a discharge from the eye. Vatsa's daily checks are designed to catch this early. If he detected it, the treatment would involve more frequent bathing of the eye with powerful antiseptic herbal decoctions, perhaps containing neem or turmeric, and the application of different, more potent medicinal pastes. Your calming regimen would become even stricter, your diet even more Spartan. It would be a serious setback, a battle fought in the dark with herbs and patience. Another significant risk was the couched lens itself. Remember that cloudy little pebble, now sitting at the bottom of your eye? Ideally, it stays there, inert and forgotten. But sometimes it didn't. A sudden jolt, a cough you failed to suppress, or just bad luck could cause the lens to become dislodged from its new resting place. It might float back up, partially or fully obstructing your vision once more. This would be a devastating development. You might experience a sudden return of the familiar blur, a shadow falling across your newly cleared vision. The only remedy for this would be to undergo the entire procedure again, a thought that is almost too much to bear. Then there was the issue of intraocular pressure. The couching procedure and the subsequent inflammation could interfere with the natural flow of fluids inside the eye. This could lead to a build-up of pressure, a condition modern medicine calls glaucoma. The Samhita describes the symptoms of this as a severe, bursting pain in the eye and head. This was a particularly dangerous complication, as there was little they could do to relieve the pressure effectively. It often led to permanent damage to the optic nerve and a complete loss of sight. Every time you feel a headache, a small part of you fears this dreaded outcome. Scholars still debate the frequency of these complications. Some optimistic interpretations suggest that in the hands of a master like Vatsa, the success rate was remarkably high. More skeptical analyses point out that without modern antibiotics and anti-inflammatory drugs, even minor infections could become catastrophic. The truth likely lies somewhere in between. It was a high-risk, high-reward procedure, and both the surgeon and the patient knew it. There were also less dramatic, but still frustrating, outcomes. The incision might not heal perfectly, leaving a permanent point of irritation. You might develop chronic dry eye, or a persistent sensitivity to light, or the vision in the operated eye might simply not improve as much as hoped, remaining a frustrating blurry haze. You, thankfully, seem to be avoiding the worst of these fates. Your pain is subsiding, not increasing. When the bandages are changed, Vatsa makes no mention of excessive redness. You have been a model of stillness, and you pray that your lens has remained peacefully settled in its new home. Yet, the knowledge of what could go wrong is a constant companion in your quiet room. It adds a layer of profound gratitude to every small sign of progress. The absence of pain feels like a gift. The ability to distinguish a shape in the dim light feels like a miracle. You are acutely aware of how fragile this recovery is, how easily it could be derailed. This awareness doesn't make you more anxious. Instead, it deepens your respect for the process, for Vatsa's skill, and for the resilience of your own body. You are walking a tightrope, and so far you have not fallen. Each day without complication is a victory, bringing you one step closer to the light. You follow these rules religiously. Your life is a slow, careful dance of cautious movement. You graduate from your bed to a chair, still within the dark room. You practice walking from one wall to the other. You eat soft, bland foods. You speak in quiet tones. You are a model patient because your future depends on it. The desire to see again, to tear off the bandages and rush out into the sun, is immense. But you temper it with the wisdom Vatsa has imparted. Patience is not just a virtue, it is a medical necessity. The slow rules of recovery are your new scripture, and you abide by them, waiting for the day of the great unveiling. The 10th day arrives. This is the day marked by the Susruta Samhita as the moment of truth, the day for the Vyada Veda, or the great unveiling. A quiet excitement, laced with a heavy dose of apprehension, fills your recovery room. For more than a week, you have lived in a world of tactile sensations and muffled sounds, your reality defined by the soft pressure of bandages. Today, that world will end, for better or for worse. Vatsa enters the room, but this time he is not alone. An assistant follows, and they do not immediately plunge the room back into darkness after entering. Instead, they leave the door slightly ajar, allowing a thin, soft sliver of morning light to penetrate the gloom. It's the most light you've been exposed to in 10 days, and it seems almost impossibly bright. You are sitting on the edge of your bed, your back straight, your hands clasped in your lap. You feel like a student about to receive his final grade. Vatsa begins the ritual one last time. He carefully, slowly, unwraps the layers of cloth from around your head. You feel the air on your skin, cool and fresh. He gently cleans your eyelids with a lukewarm herbal wash, clearing away the last of the medicated ghee. "You may open them now," he says, his voice calm as ever. Slowly, you take a breath. This is it. You squeeze your eyes shut one last time, then force your tired muscles to obey. Your eyelids flutter open. At first, it's all just a blur, a swimming mess of light and shadow. Your eyes, accustomed to absolute darkness, are overwhelmed. They tear up instantly, a defensive reaction to the sudden sensory input. You blink rapidly, trying to clear the haze. And then, it happens. The blur begins to resolve. The sliver of light from the doorway sharpens from a general brightness into a defined shape of vertical line of pale gold against the dark wood of the doorframe. You turn your head, slowly, cautiously. You look at Vatsa, his face, which you have only ever perceived as a vague shape or a calming voice, comes into focus. Not a perfect, crystal clear focus, but a focus nonetheless. You can see the lines around his eyes. You can see the texture of his white robes. You can see the gentle, watchful expression on his face. The world comes flooding back in. It's a profoundly disorienting and exhilarating experience. The colours are the most shocking part. After years of seeing the world through a milky, yellowed filter, the vibrancy is almost painful. The simple brown of the wooden stool in the corner seems impossibly rich and deep. The green of a leaf on a branch visible through the doorway is a shade you feel you haven't truly seen since childhood. It's like a faded painting that has been restored to its original brilliant palette. Of course, the vision is not perfect. As expected, you are intensely farsighted. Vatsa's face is clearer than the details of your own hands. The world has a strange, flattened quality, and your depth perception is completely off. When you reach for a cup of water on a nearby table, you misjudge the distance, your hand stopping short. This is the new reality of your aphakic vision. You have traded a world of blindness for a world without a focusing lens. It's a significant trade-off, but one you would make 1,000 times over. A fascinating, though perhaps niche, scholarly debate centers on whether ancient patients developed behavioral compensations for this lack of focus. Did they learn to use monocular cues, like relative size and light and shadow, more effectively to judge distance? Did they move their heads more to create motion parallax, another depth cue? You, in this moment, are the living embodiment of that debate, your brain already beginning the long process of relearning how to see, how to navigate this new, flatter, but wonderfully bright world. Vatsa observes you, watching as you take in your surroundings. He asks you to look at his hand, to count his fingers again, this time in the light. You can. He points to a small carving on a wooden chest across the room. You can see its general shape. He is assessing the outcome, and a rare, small smile touches his lips. The procedure was a success. You are overcome with a wave of emotion so powerful it leaves you breathless. It's not just happiness, it's a profound, soul-shaking gratitude. The tears that now stream down your face are not from the strain of the light, but from the sheer, overwhelming relief. You have been given the world back. You look at Vatsa, at this man who, with a steady hand and ancient wisdom, guided you out of the darkness. Words fail you. How can you possibly thank someone for a miracle? The journey has been terrifying, the recovery demanding, but in this moment of revelation, it was all worth it. You are seeing again. In the days following the unveiling, your life is transformed. You are finally allowed to leave the confines of the recovery room, to step out into the courtyard of Vatsa's home. The sunlight is a shock, and you shield your sensitive eyes, squinting as they slowly adjust to the brilliance of the day. Every detail of the world, once lost to you, is now a source of wonder. The intricate pattern of veins on a leaf, the texture of a stone wall, the flight of a bird across the sky, it is all new again. Your family comes to see you, and for the first time in years, you can truly see their faces, not as blurry ovals, but as collections of smiles, wrinkles, and loving expressions. It is a time of quiet, profound joy. But as your strength returns, and the date of your departure approaches, a new, more practical matter arises, compensating the physician. How do you pay for a miracle? In the Mauryan Empire, there is no standardized medical billing, no insurance system to navigate. The payment for Vatsa's life-altering service is a matter of tradition, ethics, and personal means, all guided by the principles of the Sushruta Samhita. The Samhita itself is quite clear on the ethics of payment. It states that a physician should not treat his art as a mere commodity to be sold for profit. The primary motivation must always be the relief of suffering. The text warns against greedy physicians who would exploit the desperation of the sick. In fact, it lists several types of people a physician was obligated to treat for free: the poor, his friends and family, ascetics and religious figures, and even his own enemies if they came to him for help. This established a baseline of compassionate care, framing medicine as a sacred duty, not just a trade. However, the text also acknowledges that a physician needs to earn a living. For patients of means, like a wealthy merchant, a landowner, or a court official, payment was expected and was often substantial. Your own station in life, whether you are a humble weaver or a prosperous trader, determines the nature of your compensation. There is no set fee. The amount is a negotiation, an understanding between you and Vatsa, based on your capacity to give and the immense value of the service rendered. The payment itself would likely not be in a standardized currency of coins, as these were not yet in universal use in all parts of the empire. Instead, compensation was often given in kind. If you are a landowner, you might gift Vatsa a parcel of fertile land, a gift that would provide for his family for generations. Or you might offer him a number of cattle, common measure of wealth, such as cows or goats. A mainstream historical fact is that throughout much of ancient history, livestock was a more stable and widely accepted form of wealth than precious metals. If you were a merchant, you might offer him valuable goods from your own trade: bolts of the finest silk from the distant east, sacks of rare and exotic spices like cardamom and black pepper, or perhaps a beautifully crafted piece of jewellery made of gold or precious stones. The payment is a reflection of your own life and livelihood. A quirky and more personal form of payment might be a pledge of service. If you are a skilled artisan, you might promise to build furniture for his home or weave fine robes for his family for a number of years. It was a form of payment that built a lasting relationship between the physician's family and the patient's. There is also the matter of the assistants and the student who helped throughout your ordeal. They too must be compensated for their tireless care. You would likely provide them with smaller gifts, perhaps a few measures of grain, a new set of clothes, or a small token of silver. Historians still debate how this system worked in practice. Was there social pressure to give generously? Undoubtedly. A physician's reputation was his greatest asset, and a satisfied, grateful patient who paid handsomely was the best form of advertising. Conversely, a wealthy patient who was seen as stingy might find their own social standing diminished. You gather what you can afford, a combination of goods that represents a significant portion of your wealth, but one you give with a joyful heart. You present your gift to Vatsa not as a cold transaction, but as a token of your immeasurable gratitude. He accepts it with a quiet dignity, without excessive fuss or haggling. The exchange is one of mutual respect. He has restored your life, and you are ensuring that he can continue his sacred work of healing others. It is the final step in your journey with him, a closing of the circle that began with your fearful knock on his door. With your debt paid, your vision restored, and a long list of rules for your future conduct, you are ready to return home. You walk away from Vatsa's quiet home, your steps tentative but sure on the sun-drenched street. The world is a kaleidoscope of overwhelming detail. The familiar path back to your own neighbourhood feels like a foreign country, one you are visiting for the first time. You are relearning your own city, one vibrant, blurry-edged discovery at a time. The journey that began in a milky haze has ended in brilliant, if imperfect, to light. But the story of this incredible procedure does not end with you. The legacy of Sushruta and the art of couching is just beginning its own long journey, one that will traverse continents and centuries. The knowledge codified in the Sushruta Samhita was not destined to remain a secret within the Indian subcontinent. Like so many other precious goods and powerful ideas, it began to travel along the vast network of trade routes that connected the ancient world. The most famous of these, the Silk Road, was not just a highway for silk, spices, and porcelain. It was a conduit for culture, philosophy, and medical innovation. Merchants, missionaries, and travelling scholars, moving between India, Persia, and the burgeoning empires of the Mediterranean, carried these medical texts with them. The detailed descriptions of surgical procedures, particularly the dramatic and life-altering cataract surgery, were of immense interest to physicians in other lands. The Persian Empire, a great crossroads of culture, was one of the first places where this Indian knowledge took root. Persian physicians translated the Sanskrit texts into their own languages, adapting the techniques and integrating them with their own medical traditions. From Persia, the knowledge spread westward. By the early medieval period, the Islamic Golden Age was dawning, and cities like Baghdad became great centres of learning, greedily absorbing wisdom from all corners of the known world. Arab scholars translated the works of Sushruta into Arabic. The physician, Muhammad ibn Zakaria al-Razi, known in the West as Razis, described the couching procedure in his own comprehensive medical encyclopedia in the 10th century. The technique, with some modifications, became a standard procedure throughout the Islamic world, from Moorish Spain to the great cities of Central Asia. Historians trace the path of the couching needle as it moves across the map. From the Arab world, the knowledge eventually filtered into Europe. It likely arrived through multiple points of contact, through trade in Venice, through cultural exchange in Sicily, and, most significantly, through the translation of Arabic texts in Spain. For centuries, European medicine had been in a relative slumber. The idea of such a delicate, sight-restoring surgery was revolutionary. Early European surgeons, often itinerant practitioners who travelled from town to town, adopted the technique. The coucher became a familiar, if somewhat mysterious figure in medieval and Renaissance Europe, a travelling specialist who could, for a fee, attempt the Indian operation. A quirky linguistic tidbit is that the very word couching is believed to derive from the Old French verb coucher, meaning to lay down or to put to bed, a direct reference to the act of laying the lens down within the eye. The name itself is a testament to the procedure's long journey from the banks of the Ganges to the marketplaces of Europe. Of course, as the technique spread, it was often simplified or misunderstood. The meticulous preoperative and postoperative care, the deep philosophical grounding in Ayurveda, was often lost in translation. The procedure became just that a mechanical act, stripped of its holistic context. This likely led to a lower success rate and more complications, cementing its reputation in Europe as a risky, last-ditch effort. Scholars still debate the full extent of Sushruta's influence on global medical history. While the transmission of couching is well documented, it's harder to trace the impact of his other surgical ideas, like rhinoplasty or his principles of wound care. But the story of cataract surgery is undeniable. For nearly 2,000 years, from the Mauryan Empire until the development of modern lens extraction surgery in the 18th century, Sushruta's method of couching was the only viable treatment for blindness caused by cataracts. Millions of people, across dozens of cultures and countless generations, owed their sight to this ancient Indian innovation. As you return to your life, to your craft, to your family, you are a living part of that legacy. Your restored vision is a testament to a chain of knowledge that began with a legendary sage, was perfected by a master like Vatsa, and was now spreading out into the wider world, a beacon of light passed from one steady hand to another. The memory of the last few weeks will stay with you forever, a quiet undercurrent to the new, vivid tapestry of your life. The feeling of the bandages, the taste of the bland rice, the sound of Vatsa's calming voice, and most of all, that first miraculous glimmer of light. You have been to the edge of darkness and back. Now, as the sun sets over Pataliputra, casting long shadows and painting the sky in hues you can finally see again, you feel a quiet, profound peace. Your world, once shrinking and fading, is now impossibly vast and full of light. And so, our journey into the meticulous world of ancient Indian surgery comes to a gentle close. The story of your healing, a testament to immense courage and profound wisdom, now fades into the soft echoes of history. As you settle into the comfort of your own bed, in your own time, allow the remaining details of this ancient world to drift away. Let the vibrant colours of the market soften. Let the sharp focus of the surgeon's instruments blur into a peaceful haze. The procedure is over, the healing is complete, and the world is quiet once more. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to see, but the gentle and comforting darkness behind your own closed eyes. Just breathe, and let the quietness of that ancient recovery room become your own, a peaceful sanctuary for your mind to rest. Let the story dissolve, leaving only a sense of calm and a deep restorative stillness. Sleep now.